Hey guys, welcome back to another JavaScript programming logic tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm actually going to be talking about event listeners, how to use them, what they are, and some things which you should be aware of when using them. So I'm not actually going to be talking about making custom event listeners. That will actually come at a later date, but for now I'm just going to talk about how to use basic event listeners. So what I'm going to do is let's just make a div or something. And yeah, what you need to know about the event listeners is that they're basically similar to the keyboard and mouse listeners, which I've talked about before, but you can actually get a lot more of them. So I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Let's just make a style tag, and let's just make this div a bit bigger so you can see it. So I have 500 pixels by 500 pixels. I'll choose a random background color. Guess I can go with navy for today. Okay, so inside of this, actually wait, that's quite a bad color. Let's just go with something custom like that. Okay, so inside this div, we have this div now, and I'm actually just gonna do some inline JavaScript because it's really simple. So here's our script, and we can actually add an event listener to this div really simply. So let's first reference this div. Div1 equals document.getElement by ID, and it's just div1, and then we can attach an event listener to this by doing add event listener, and inside of this we can actually do anything. So I guess I could just do on mouse over, and then we have to create a callback function, and let's just console.log mouse over in this. It might actually just be mouse over, so I might have got this completely wrong. So let's just do this, and yeah, so there we go. And you can see we just added a simple event listener just like that. So this event listener just like calculates if a mouse is over the div, and if it is, then it runs this callback. But event listeners are actually special because you can get a lot more custom ones. So I know there's things like just to start, and obviously I don't think it's going to work on this because I'm pretty sure gesture events only work on touch devices like mobile devices and things. But yeah, another thing you'll notice is you actually have to type it as a string because of how it is. And okay, so here we actually have all of the events, all of the default ones I should say. And yeah, you can just see that there's a lot more than just a regular div1 dot and then like this. You could get most of them here, but event listeners really become useful when you add custom event listeners. I won't go into the implementation, I'll do that in a future tutorial. But yeah, so let's just see a lot of these. Like you can do something like load. So when this div is loaded, it's going to say it. I think it might be on load, and I guess not. Yeah, but you can also do click just like that, and now if I click on it, it still prints mouse over, but you get the idea. And another thing which you should be aware of when using event listeners is they can actually stack. So if I get multiple of these, then you can see it actually prints 3 times. And if you're going to have like a function which adds event listeners whenever the div is like initialized or something, then you need to make sure you're not stacking event listeners, because it can actually really like damage performance. You're not really seeing it here, but if you have like thousands of event listeners, which can actually happen if you're not careful, it can actually become really like slow. So you need to make sure you're not stacking event listeners, and always try to use the default like on click and on sort of things inside of these, because these don't stack, they just get overwritten as soon as you reference a new one. So let's just say I wrote on click here, and let's console.log clicked, and I'll just delete these for a second and delete this callback. We'll just remove that. So now you can see that works like that, and if I add this again, you can see that it only actually happens once, even if there's 2 events, because this one overrides this one. So if I say click 2 in this, it's actually just going to come up with that. So yeah, that's another thing to be aware of when using event listeners. Just make sure you're not stacking them. And yeah, you can also take in the event like that if it's going to be like a click event, and then you can print it. So now when I click it, I get this event like this. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a future tutorial. That was the basics of event listeners.